I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this episode is being recorded and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Welcome to Can I Get a Refill, the podcast that offers a nurturing and inspirational space for honest and open discussions around career aspirations, wealth creation, motherhood, healthy relationships with others and the self, as well as an emphasis on physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Join us for light-hearted, authentic chats with like-minded women, as well as more in-depth discussions with industry professionals to support your ambitions and heal old wounds, as we empower you to regularly fill up your own cup. I'm your host, Steph Bruno-Newton, singer, writer, recovering people pleaser, first-time podcast host, and soon-to-be first-time mum. Thank you for pressing play today, and now let's get into the episode. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Can I Get a Refill podcast. I'm so excited to share today's episode with you as we have a very special guest I've been looking forward to chatting with, Cycle and Fertility Mentor, Nina Taumberger. Nina is a qualified naturopath, colon hydrotherapist, yoga teacher and cycle mentor. She's been in the health and wellness industry for over 17 years and her holistic health journey led her to explore many alternative paths to healing. Nina has a deep passion for empowering and supporting women to reconnect with the wisdom of their bodies by understanding the biology of their natural cycles and aligning with it, as well as the mental and emotional changes we as women traverse through. Her desire to help and inspire women on this cyclical journey led her to create Temple of Woman, which is ultimately a manifested vision to facilitate other women's healing journeys. Nina ultimately desires to see every woman recognise just how magnificent and powerful they are, which is something we're all about in this community. Nina took a brief break from her dream life in Bali to pop out to Sydney and Byron and kindly carved out some time to sit down with me to help us better understand the magic of cyclical living and to be more in tune with our own bodies. I know you're going to love this conversation as much as I did, and now let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome back to the Can I Get a Refill podcast. As just promised, I'm here with a very special guest today. We're talking the magic of cyclical living with Cycle and Fertility Mentor, Nina. Nina, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I can show you a little book that I have written because I'm a dinosaur. I don't put things on my phone or computer. I love notes. And I wrote a list of guests I'd like on the show. Your name is number one. When I've been thinking about doing this show for a while, and I said to my husband, because I'm always showing your content online, I said, should be a great guest. So I've purposely not researched anything to do with what we're talking about because I want to be surprised today.
Great.
I'm really interested to hear more about this, and I think that the listeners will as well. So I'm very excited to get into it. Well, we'll get into your story, but I met you, I think it was 2017, because when I put your name into my emails the other day, it came up. You were a naturopath in Cronulla. You now live in Bali. We're going to get into that. But you helped me so much. I'm a firm believer. If you have a medical issue, I like both. I like going to doctors and, doing what they tell me to do, but I like looking into sort of alternative methods. And anytime I've gone to a naturopath, yours in particular, it was an hour and a half appointment. I left there with pages and pages of info that you gave me, down to affirmations, because my cortisol was very high. I realise now it's because I was drinking caffeine for the first time ever. I was stressed. I was in a job I didn't like. But I had adrenal fatigue. I had all this like puffiness and weight gain and really swelling in my tummy. And you would talk, and some of your affirmations had self-love for the body. That helped me so much. That appointment was so good. I've never gotten rid of that email because I like to refer back to it.
Amazing.
Yeah, really good. And I did try to reach out to you a few years later, but you are no longer in Cronulla. So let me just ask you, you're living your best life in beautiful Bali. Tell us a little bit about what you do for work now, what led you to Bali, and what a typical day or week looks like for you.
Yeah, so I've been there for nearly a year.
Yep.
And
whereabouts in Bali?
I'm in Ubud, so in the jungle.
Beautiful.
Yes, it is. It's stunning. And what actually brought me over there was synchronicity.
Yeah.
I feel like Bali opens its doors when the right time is. Because the first time I went there, I'm like, how can I live here? And I had been teaching yoga at the time, so I wanted to do some yoga teaching over there.
So you were there like on a working holiday, and the thought popped into your head of this would be a nice place
I just went over there for a holiday 10 years ago.
Okay.
My first time, I'm like, oh my gosh, fell in love with the place. And I was like,
It spoke to you.
It spoke to me. Yeah. Felt like home. So ever since then, I was like, how could I make this work? But nothing really aligned. And then, I had a yoga studio here as well, and partners and things just didn't line up.
Yep.
Until it did. And
the magic of timing, right? I don't know if you heard, I've got
Incredible.
Episode out at the moment on manifesting, and I'm a really big believer. It sounds like you are. Are you open to the universe's timing and messages, right?
100%.
When it says it's time to go, it's time to go.
And it was just like so perfectly aligned that it was just like, I know I have to be there.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So actually I got a job at Yoga Barn, which is one of the world's leading yoga and wellness companies over there. Okay. Yeah. It's massive. So the doors opened up for me to do colon hydrotherapy over there.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, Zhenya used to work in her practice. Yes. You might have noticed in my toilet just now I have a poop stool.
You do have a poop stool.
I'm a big fan of that. So I'm going to do that in another episode. We'll see if she visits Australia and I'll get her on the episode. Yeah.
Yeah, poop stools are great. Yeah. And also as a naturopath over there as well. Yeah. So
you are still practicing naturopathy.
Yeah.
You're a busy lady.
I am.
And you surf as well. Wow.
I
You're living that dream life, right? That people look at on Instagram. Like it's very
I feel very
aesthetically
blessed.
pleasing.
I feel very, very blessed.
Yeah.
And it has been a dream of mine to be able to live in a place that has like this flexibility and freedom and do the things that I love in life.
It feels like a living. And this is what happens. There's this lady, is it Andrea Rogers, who opened Extend Bar. And she was a dancer her whole life, and she went into an office job, and she's like, my skin just began to crawl. That's been me my whole life. Like whenever I always end up leaning towards office jobs. But then there's something about you when you're a creative that you're like, sometimes I'll look out the window and be like, there's just got to be more to life than this. And I'm a big believer in carving out the life that excites you. Not every single day has to be exciting, but it sounds like you've really carved out that life that's perfect for you. It might not be for everyone else, but
not everyone would move to an island and do what I do because
you're living every day. It's like something that excites your soul or wakes your soul.
Yeah,
I love
100%.
that.
And I also got an opportunity to host wellness retreats at the Yoga Barn as well.
Oh, you do that.
And I also do my cyclical living workshops there weekly. So I have many women come to see me and learn about the incredible path of cyclical living. And
that's amazing. I've been saying cyclical. Am I saying it wrong, or
cyclical,
is it like potato?
Exactly.
Okay. I'm going to say it both ways now and confuse myself.
Yeah, no.
Well, when I'm no longer pregnant, that's now added to my bucket list to go over there and do one of those retreats with you. That sounds amazing. Yeah. And teaching yoga.
I'm just doing that online at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So it's not a thing that I do.
Yeah. Well, at the end, we'll get to how people can find you and more about courses and everything. Yeah. For those who aren't at all familiar with cyclical living and cycle syncing, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Of course. So it's quite basic when you think about it, and it's really becoming in tune with your own unique cyclical rhythm. Mm-hmm. So we as women are cyclical beings.
Yeah.
We run on our own hormonal cycle. And when we
it's different for all of us, right? Whereas
all of us.
Are men just like a 24-hour cycle?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. They're stock standard, day in, day out, 24-hour cycle. Where we as women, we run on an infradian rhythm, which is around a 29.5-day cycle, which is linked to our moon, the lunar cycle. Oh. So when we can start to be in tune with our own unique cycle, we can harness the different energies within our cycle because we change.
So it's not just related to our period, it's also lunar related.
Lunar, seasonal, emotional life cycles as well. Okay. So we move through cycles within cycles within cycles.
Do you want to hear something odd that people think I'm mental? 8.5 months pregnant, I miss my period. And I've said that to you. I knew you would nod in like understanding. Everyone's like, are you crazy? I miss it. And I think it's something to do with it's a part of me and it's a part of, I don't know, like a femininity or something. 100%. So I don't know. I just feel like it was so regular. I don't know. I feel odd. I feel a little bit lost without it, and I actually feel excited to go back to my period. And I'll probably be cursing myself, but mine aren't too bad. Mine aren't too heavy. You know what's weird about my cycles though? They're every 24, 25 days. So I wonder if that throws me out with the moon. Because I'm a Cancerian, so I'm very much in tune with the moon cycles because it's my ruling planet. So anyway, I interrupted. Get back to what you were saying.
That's all right. So it's really just living in alignment with your own unique cycle rather than against it, which so many of us are doing, probably unconsciously.
Yeah.
Because we live in a society that is not cyclical at all.
I have a later question like this. Yes. I'm just bringing it up now. This is my issue, and this is what my brief episode was, a solo episode I did about romanticising winter to avoid seasonal blues, which I definitely get, even if I am a winter baby. I feel like society is based, on a man's cycle, a man's body, but also like a summer schedule. You're expected to keep up this hustle culture that you have in summer when you have all this natural energy through winter. And I think it's odd. And I think my family is from Sicily. They think that's fucking crazy. Like, why would you wake up in the dark and go to the gym? That's just insane. So I'm sort of pregnant, so I've had to reschedule my thing. But I'm sleeping in that extra hour, and I'm for the first time in my adult life, giving in to the season and giving in to what my body is requiring and doing just a little resistance band workout instead of a high intensity workout, probably because I can't really do it in the moment. But it just feels like I'm listening to and respecting my body for the first time, and it's rewarding me more. Yeah. Because I think that's probably why 100%. Do you know I get adrenal fatigue every winter? And I was always like, oh, why is that? Is it the lack of vitamin D? I reckon it's also the pushing through with a summer schedule in winter instead of listening to my needs.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, all you have to do really is look to nature.
Yeah.
See what nature actually does.
There's a hibernating.
Exactly.
We're at the gym in the dark.
Same with the trees. Like they're not in full bloom in winter, right?
There's one of those awesome quotes too where no one gets the shits with trees like, oh, why aren't you flowering? We're like, well, it's winter. But we expect ourselves to be blooming 24/7, 12 months a year. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It comes back to when the patriarchal institutions started to, formulate a structure of society.
Is it Henry Ford? Because I just read the other day he's the one that came up with the 8-hour workday. So we hate him.
Potentially, but it also even goes back to when, the churches were starting to be in charge and, making men more dominant in society, pushing aside the actual feminine power. Then we had to kind of like conform and fit into what they were building.
Yeah.
Otherwise we'd be burnt.
Yeah.
We were censored.
Yeah.
We were just...
Were censored?
It's debatable. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I find that really interesting, and I think I'm loving seeing how much women are doing now. This is why I like talking to the younger generation. I love girls in their 20s and 30s and love seeing how much they're doing. They're very unapologetic, whereas my generation, and especially older, is very sort of the apologetic personality,
people pleasing.
People pleasers, right? And I'm not seeing that as much of the younger generation. I'm seeing more body positivity. Well, I was until Ozempic kicked in. That's another chat. But I'm concerned that we're trying to be everything all at once. And then when you get to my age and you're having kids and they're trying to be... Because when I was in school, like it was mainly the dads working and the mums would wait. And then my mum got a job when I was like 8 just to pay for all my dancing fees. And then, but, they were rested. They were there to pick us up from school. But now I'm seeing women work just as much as men, pulling in just as much money as men, still doing slightly more housework, even if you do have a good sort of metro guy like I've got. He's a great cook, so we'll give him that one. And then trying to do the side hustles. and the content creation and be in the gym and do your meditating and do your yoga and your infrared saunas, but don't forget to do your self-care and your night routine, we're fucking burnt out. And I'm a little concerned about that. And I think that's something where we need to, I don't know if it's a matter of getting offline and not trying to do the comparison thing and just, like rest is productive, right?
100%.
Like it's same with working out. Like my nephew's working out 7 days a week and I was like, oh, if you had that 7th day off, I go, that's when your muscle grows. I go, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. But it's the same thing for women.
Well, if you think about it, is sleep productive or not productive? Sleep is essential. That rest.
I'm realising now it is. But that's the first thing when your schedule's full, it's the first thing you give in on.
Yeah.
You want to see my Fitbit? 5 hours and 37 minutes sleep. Oh, but I'm a bit insomniac. I'm up peeing all the time, so let's leave that. But
yes,
we should be getting way more.
But yeah, people in, the workforce, they're celebrated for work and not enough sleep. It's like, I only got this amount of sleep. Like I would just work.
It's a badge of honor. Yeah, and also like pointing out how much overtime they've done. I used to get caught up with that. Now I don't. Unless something major comes up, I'm shutting that laptop at 5.
Yeah. And circling back to, the women just doing everything all the time and being everything for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's a lot and it's too much.
It's too much.
When we look back at history, like you could say that the feminist movement has shot us in the foot a little bit in the way that it's brought amazing things.
No, there's pros and cons of everything.
Pros and cons in everything.
I'm a staunch feminist, but I'm agreeing with you wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah.
But I also think men aren't putting pressure on us to do all these things. We're putting pressure on ourselves to do all these things. But I also feel knowing that, what really does us a disservice, even as much of a blessing as it is motherhood, because I felt this whole like rush, ticking time bomb of get it all done before you have to give birth. And then it's like your time is gone. And I said this in the very last episode where my friend's husband was like, oh, it's not like a death. And I was like, but isn't it? Because like my single self will die, my solitude will die. I have to be there for someone. So I felt this real ticking time bomb to get everything done, career-wise or personal, goals before then. I mean, I've sort of switched a bit now, and now I'm like, I'm going to have some maternity leave. I know it'll be very busy, but that'll give me some time to do a little creative pursuits as well. But don't you think like that takes a big chunk out of our time? Like until recently, no super is paid in that time. And so we get a bit disadvantaged. Men can, they might have kids, but I said to Alan, okay, your body doesn't change. You're like back in the gym the next day, like you're still, whereas we lose that big chunk. And I heard the other day that it takes an average of like 2 years to get back to, like for all your hormones to get back. So you are losing time.
Yeah, essentially. And this is the thing with society, and it hasn't been set up for us to take that actual time that we need.
Yeah, because it was set up by the patriarchy. That's right. Yeah.
Exactly. So we have to go back to looking at the structures of it and how can society actually support mothers again. I
started seeing a shift after COVID.
Me too.
But I'm starting to see a subtle shift back of everyone's expected back in the office. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm going to have a child. How are you supposed to do? And then I have a friend who's very, very wealthy who said this child might end up being the only child because I actually can't afford to do like everything and full-time daycare. So it's hard.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah. We're living in the Western world with money demands. And this is why I'm actually choosing a slightly different path as well, because I see, this Western world and the pressure that...
Now that's interesting. So you've made a choice and we're all complaining, and yes, Sydney is unbelievably unaffordable, right? Yeah. However, we're also choosing the lifestyle creep, where like we're choosing to go from $8 Priceline foundation to $90 Chanel. Well, I'm still on the Priceline stuff, but do you know what I mean? Like there's lifestyle creep where we're all getting things done, and like years ago you had one house phone. Now we've got the $100 a month on your phone, then it's like $80 to $100 on all your streaming services. Then like we're still actively choosing to participate in things that we don't necessarily have to. We could be living more of a life, not off the grid, but in that realm.
Simply.
Yeah, simply.
Yeah.
Like Europeans. Yeah. And, you know, they live very long lives in certain areas like Sardinia. So, and they're having basic food and they're walking everywhere and they're having that community lifestyle. So it's something to think about, but you get caught up. You're a product of your environment too, and I think you get caught up in what your circle's doing.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
All right, so that explains it a little bit. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, so we've sort of briefly touched on, you know, the sort of American influence lifestyle that we've become accustomed to, where we're trying to push through and live a certain lifestyle through winter and everything that we're not meant to. What do you think we can do to break this pattern and embrace a lifestyle that our bodies are naturally craving? Is this part of what you were saying? Maybe it's making a personal choice?
It is. Honestly, it comes down to choice and making that conscious effort to do something different.
Yeah.
It can be that simple. And yet it can be challenging because we do live in this environment that is go, go, go all the time. However, it starts with, you know, looking at ourselves and what it is that we actually need.
Okay.
So asking yourself, like, what do I need?
Do you know why I reckon we don't? Because we're never in silence. I'm going to bring on this lady who ran the parenting group I did, and I agreed with her. I don't want to give my kid devices. And she's like, please, but I'm not judging parents who do. This is for another episode, but she doesn't want devices for kids until they're 3. She's like, they don't need it. Like they want your time and to talk to them. And I always said, we're so, like, I constantly have my phone running with like YouTube videos, and it's great. It's good content, but I will freak out if you can't even go to the toilet without your phone or go in the shower. I have music playing. Now, the problem with not having boredom and silence, I think, is that these ideas don't come. So I used to write music and I'd always come up with it either on my walk when I didn't take headphones or in the shower. And those were the 2 times where it was silence and I was bored. So I actively, if I'm in line for something like at the doctor's office or something, I try to just sit and people watch. When I get my nails done, everyone's scrolling on their phone. I'm like, no, I come home relaxed because I just sit there and I'm people watching or I'm in the moment. And I think we're overstimulated. And so until we have like a gap where we're bored or there's silence, we're probably not going to be in tune with ourselves and listen to ourselves. Would you agree with that?
100%. So this is what I speak about in terms of like coming back to the menstrual cycle and how important it is in our, you know, winter phase, which correlates to our menstrual phase, is that we need the space. We need the time to rest because on a hormonal level, our hormones are at our lowest. And on an energetic level then, if our hormones are at our lowest, our energy will actually be following that.
Yeah.
Our energy is actually slightly lower
and
at that
we
point.
should be giving into it instead of fighting it, right?
Exactly.
That's normal.
It is.
Can you explain the cycles to me? I just realised I didn't ask you because I've heard people talk about, is it luteal or something? I actually don't know. I just know when I'm ovulating, I'm a damn fun social bitch. And when I'm PMSing, so I, when not pregnant, love running the sand dunes at Green Hills.
Yes.
Love it. Like, feel like Rocky Balboa. I'm cliche Italian. I listen to the Rocky Balboa soundtrack when I get to the top of the hill. It's great. I once went on, my worst is day 2 of my period. I once went, it was either day 1 or day 2. And I put my phone like in my shoe really far away. It was so early in the morning, no one was around. And I was in the fetal position at the bottom of a hill, could not move, like I looked like a corpse. And this lady came up 20 minutes later going, are you okay? And I was like, it's day 2. And she's like, gotcha. I stayed there until I could move again. And then I did one more thing once on another cycle, running on the treadmill at the gym, and same thing. And a guy was asking me, and I was like, lady problems. And he was like, and he looked terrified. And then I was like, well, that's it. I'm not doing any cardio on days 1 and 2. And so now I've shifted my sort of social calendar to sync in with my cycle. And there's this, the first podcaster I ever listened to is called Manifestation Babe, Catherine Zenkina. She's great. She will schedule all her work meetings to align when she's ovulating.
Yeah.
And I am so social and and I read that it was something to do with, evolutionary. That's when you're meant to be out attracting a mate to procreate.
100%.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Go. That's my take of it. Now you tell me all the different phases of the cycle.
Okay, so we have 4 different phases of our cycle.
Yeah.
So we start with our menstrual phase, which is day 1. It marks day 1 of a new cycle. Right.
And everyone's cycle is different length.
Every cycle is different length.
What's an average?
So we say like a healthy cycle is between 24 to 36 days. Now that is...
but the bleeding
can be up to like 3 to 6 days.
Yeah. I'm about 5, but it's like the first 3 and then the last 2 is like spotting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So we want, at least 2 to 3 days of medium bleeding, medium, maybe heavy bleeding.
That's a healthy.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got that first phase, menstrual phase, which we link to the season of winter.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to be linking the phases to seasons.
I get it. I'm a bit of a bitch in winter and I'm a bit of a bitch in bleeding. Just a bit subdued, just a bit down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when you think about the season of winter, you think, okay, it's restful, right?
It's restful.
It's quiet.
It's cozy blankets.
People come inside.
Yeah.
We don't want to do much, right?
Yeah.
It's like we're more selective of how we want to actually move our bodies, and it's like a time of energy conservation, right?
That's a very good energy conservation. That's really good. But that's what men don't get. It's not like you're walking around with a scarlet A on your scarlet P or B, I'm bleeding today. They don't get it. Yeah. They don't get it that, and the workplaces don't get it. And how many of us feel like you need a day off sick a month? Because some people have terribly heavy periods. Exactly. It's very hard to function a normal schedule when you're bleeding.
Well, actually, this is exciting. This is an exciting movement. Spain has actually introduced 3-day period leave. Paid.
Oh, my God, I'm moving to Spain.
Right?
It's so awesome.
Right? There's another country on board as well. But
it had to have been a woman involved in that decision.
But
that's awesome.
It's really awesome. Yeah. And it's starting to be like, okay, there's recognition for this time of our cycle that we actually need that rest. We need that time off to be with our bodies because it is actually quite energy consuming process of releasing this uterine lining.
I grew up where if an ad for a pad or tampon came on TV, my dad fumbled for the remote and changed the channel. It felt really uncomfortable. Now, my dad was born in Sicily in 1950 and he was at my house not too long ago and he brought it up and he was saying, we never talked about that. Like my sister, they never talked about it. And it was so impressive to see someone with such an old school mentality really look at it from a new light. And I said, it was like the proudest I was of him because I'm like, that's the whole point. It's like a bowel movement. You're all talking about that. No one was talking about periods. And have you ever read this book, Desert Flower, by Waris Diary? She was a model. I can't remember which African country, but she was talking about that, like genital mutilation and everything. But there are some areas, I can't say if it's happening now, where they would bury the women in the dirt up to their neck when they were bleeding and then just leave them there for days and then just bring them food. I mean, we already feel ostracized. But here's the thing. That brings an element of shame. And when you're a young, impressionable woman, shame is really hard to kick. Yeah. So, it's very interesting. So if my dad's seeing it from those eyes, and he never does with anything, it's very progressive. So maybe that's what's happening in society, and that's why Spain's changing it. Like, we never talked about it, and now there's ads where there's blood on your underwear. Yes. Do you know what I mean? And that's shocking to some people, but then they'll get over that. Yeah. Like, we get used to everything, like G-string bikinis now. Exactly. So it just becomes the norm.
It's starting to normalize and, not ostracize. It's just starting to bring this
awareness and education to men who don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. But the thing is, it first starts with us.
Yes.
And us being okay with our relationship with our cycle.
Right.
And actually understanding our own unique cycle as well. And this is where cyclical living is super important because it not only impacts our lives, it impacts those around us because we understand ourselves on such a deeper level. It's not only until I started practicing cyclical living, I stepped into like this new empowered version of myself. Like, wow, I know myself, and I know like these subtle changes of my like I can feel the change that I go through within my cycle, and there's something incredible about having body literacy. It's like I know my body so well.
It's empowering.
It's so empowering.
Yeah. I was a girl who developed young. Like I had a very curvy body from very young, so I always looked a bit older. But I didn't get my period till I was 14. And I can tell you right now, it's almost my anniversary because it was July 7th, 1997. I was 14 years old and I wrote it in my diary. It was around 1:40 p.m. I was on school holidays.
Look at you.
I was so excited. I walked around for years with a little handbag, with little tampons that I'd gotten out of the little dispensers in the public toilet. And I was obsessed with the idea of getting my period. I wanted it so bad and I felt really left out.
Wow.
And people think that's nuts. And then when you start getting cramps, I guess you kind of regret it a little bit. But no, it was always a rite of passage to me that I wanted to be proud about it. And when I was young, this book was huge. You're a bit younger, perhaps not. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
And then last year, Rachel McAdams and Meryl Streep turned into a film. I still need to see that. But it was so old school. They were talking about a belt with loops. That's how they used to have. Yeah. And I was like, what is that? I couldn't figure it out because it was from like many, many years ago. I think it's American. But it was such a special book to me. I would read it like a few times a year because it just felt like that was a part of womanhood. Yeah. And I was obsessed with the idea of getting my period. So I've always felt quite connected to it, and something like as hard as it can be, it was some sort of, I think I'm just in tune with myself, and I've always had a bit of self-awareness, and it just felt like me getting to know
yourself.
Me.
Yes, that's incredible.
I think it's odd, but
well, it's not the norm. Lots of girls had like the women that I see come to my workshops. There's like so much shame around getting their period, and they weren't told anything about their period before they actually got their bleed. So they went into it being like, what is this?
Okay, because we had a lot of chats even in primary school.
That's great.
Yeah, they should be doing that. That's insane to not do that. I don't expect families, they get uncomfortable talking about that stuff, but it's good when schools do.
This is the thing. This is what I aim to change, is this talk within families from mother to daughter, even from father to daughter as well. Like have this as this open discussion about this is a transition that you will move into, like moving from this maiden phase to I call it the mother phase. It's like this phase of fertility now, like you're moving into womanhood, like you said, and it is a time to be celebrated.
But everything in society now is better with conversation, and I'm sure the next generation will be better, but no one talked about anything years ago. That's why I talk about therapy being such a big thing now. Everyone swept everything under the rug. It's only now that people are starting to talk about mental health, or who even talked about gut health 10 years ago? No one talked about gut health.
No.
So, there's more education and there's more awareness, but there's more public awareness where we're having conversations.
Yes, and
you can thank podcasts for that too.
Podcasts, social media. It's really actually great to have so much information out there, and people are, expressing themselves unapologetically.
Yeah,
so
it's refreshing.
It's really refreshing, and people are speaking openly about their bleeds and, going through maybe premenstrual symptoms, and it's a whole lot more open, which is
very refreshing.
Yeah.
So what's the phase after the menstruation?
So after menstruation, we move into the follicular phase, which we correlate this season of spring.
Oh, my favourite.
I know. So when you think about spring is like this time. It's exciting, right?
Yes.
Everyone
new beginnings. It's fresh. Yeah.
Yes, fresh and exciting. You want to like kind of go out and explore more. So in our follicular phase, it's a really good time to look at being more creative.
Okay.
More playful.
Okay.
Have more fun and do new and exciting things.
So that's straight after. So if I were to finish my cycle on like day 5, so from day 6, okay.
Yeah, you move into, you feel like a subtle change in energy after.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
I
like.
look better too.
Exactly. It's like you're moving out of that hibernation phase and starting to transition into like, I'm feeling like a little bit of rise in energy. I want to start to do more. And I advise people though to not like burst out of the gates as soon as you get that burst of new energy. When you think about a bear coming out of hibernation, it doesn't run out. It doesn't run out
like
of the
a
cave,
shotgun.
right? It's like coming out. It's like peaking. Just it
Yeah.
might sit there for a little while and digest.
Yeah.
You know what has just happened, and just start to stretch a little bit more. So it's
Like when you're just coming out of your meditation, you know, when it's like such a subtle, like it's only been 10, 15 minutes, but your eyes take ages to open.
yes, exactly.
Because you've been restful.
So rather than, bolting out of the gates, we want to slow transition into like, okay, I've got some more energy now, and then I'm going to utilize it to, move my body a little bit more, or be a bit more creative.
Okay. So if you've got something really like creative, like something you want to do, you would recommend putting it in the follicular.
Putting it in
okay.
that, yes,
All right.
exactly. You might have like new ideas start to pop into your mind, and you might just start to get the ball rolling in some projects and things like that.
I wonder if can you still feel those sort of cycles when you're pregnant?
Yeah,
because I'm still feeling the energy go in line with, I don't know if
Yeah.
it's with the moon or whatever, but I'm still feeling the ups and downs. Yeah.
So it can definitely be with the moon as well.
Because my mum used to be synced up with me, and she's 75 now, so obviously she's gone through menopause. But she used to say she was still getting the cycles, even though the bleeding wasn't there anymore, because we had the same. And she was like, "Are you PMSing right now? Because I feel like that's so interesting.
Yeah,
like the body doesn't let go of that cycle.
It's really incredible. We're so incredible. It just always baffles me how
women especially.
Oh, we are very special.
So what's after the follicular?
We move into our ovulation phase, the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so social.
Exactly. And you start to feel like this yang energy, right?
Yes.
So it's more externalized. And this is an amazing time to be outside, be social, maybe have like more meetings and presentations if you're doing work.
I used to like to have singing gigs during my ovulation because I could really knock them out of the park.
Exactly. And this is a time where we want to be out because, on this biological level, we have high estrogen, and estrogen is like this shiny hormone that just wants to parade itself. People call it the Beyonce hormone.
Do they? Yes. I love that. I'm going to call it a Lady Gaga. Oh,
you can call it whatever reference you want.
I like
that. So it's more of this like, you could even say like Leo energy, right?
Yeah.
So it's
what's your star sign?
Leo.
Okay, there you go. When's your birthday? It's coming up then.
Yeah, end of July, 31st of July.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
noted. That was when I was meant to be giving birth.
No way.
The stupid Cancerian kids coming early.
Yeah, so we want to harness that energy and utilize it.
But here's my tip to my fellow extroverted introverts. Is that what I am, or introverted extrovert? Introverted extrovert. Don't make plans during your ovulation that you have to do
in a couple of weeks' time.
That is the biggest regret, because you're like, yes, queen, I'm going to do this. And then it comes around and you're like, please someone cancel. Please someone cancel this.
That's the thing. You have to be wary about being a yes woman.
Yeah, I'm more in tune with that now. And if I'm planning something, I'll plan it around my cycles. But if you're invited to things, it's a bit unavoidable.
Yeah. So
I should send all my friends my cycle and be like, these are the dates I'm free for socializing.
100%. And, if your friends are like in tune with it, they'd be like, yes, that's totally
There's one friend
fine.
who would totally respect it. Yeah.
Yes.
And then what's after that?
So after ovulation, we move into our luteal phase.
This is what I know nothing about, and everyone's talking about on Instagram.
Yeah.
So
this is our autumn phase.
Okay.
And this is the phase that is kind of ignored, pushed under the rug. So when you think of the season of autumn, what do you think?
The leaves falling, starting to slow down.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a cozy time for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Cozy, but still in a good mood. Whereas winter, I'm like, the seasonal blues can kick in.
Yes.
But I like autumn. However, what's PMS? Because I'm a bitch a week before my period.
Yeah.
Is that the luteal phase?
It is the luteal phase. So the luteal phase happens directly after ovulation.
It's very emotional.
All the way until our first day of bleed.
Okay.
So it can be like a 12 to 14 day kind of phase.
Because I'm not so bad when I'm bleeding. I'm just low in energy, but my mood's good.
Yes.
But luteal, I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Well, I'm just hormonal and emotional.
Yes.
I could go from hysterical to upset, like and then you'll realise, that's what it was. And then you feel human again once you stop bleeding, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the bleeding phase is like the release. It's like that part, that build up to your bleed. Yeah, it's gone.
That's what I've kind of missed.
Yeah,
being pregnant. I'm like,
there's that release.
It's a release.
Yes.
There's something about it that I feel like I'm not shedding something, and I don't know if it's emotionally connected, but I feel like I'm holding on to something when I'm pregnant, and I just need to release.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
So in pregnancy, you're in an extended luteal phase.
Oh, that explains so much,
right? So you're.
I'm glad you're telling me this at the end of the pregnancy and not halfway through. I'd be so depressed. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
So you're in this like holding phase, right?
So 9 months of autumn, hey? Okay.
It really is. And so what happens is progesterone is the dominant hormone in this phase.
Right.
And progesterone is actually an incredible hormone that is actually a cooling and calming hormone.
Okay.
However, majority of us are a little bit hormonally out of whack here.
Nearly all of us, right?
Yeah, where estrogen can actually be a little bit more dominant than progesterone, thus leaving us with some premenstrual symptoms. And that can be from breast tenderness to bloating to feeling puffy, headachy. There's so many different symptoms, and the mood symptoms as well. Anxiety, depression, moodiness.
Why are we out of whack? Is that a lifestyle thing? Because I think one of the tips you gave me was to get off chemical things. Now, if you look around my house, nearly all the hand soaps and dishwashing things are organic. My shower gel is organic. I don't know if you've smelt me, but I'm wearing ylang ylang. I haven't worn perfume for years.
Yes.
That helped me a lot. And I think, because I saw this thing on Instagram where it's like girls be like, my hormones are all out of whack. And then they're like, also girls. And it's a picture of their bathroom counter with every chemical under the sun that you use. And that's why I like my work from home days where I don't put makeup on. I'm like, hey, that's a day where I don't put certain chemicals on my body. Yeah. Is it? But then there's lots of things. Mobile phones.
There's so many different
society.
things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yes,
but you're seeing more women than not with hormonal imbalances, I would imagine.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, the chemical side of things for sure. They're called endocrine disruptors.
Yes.
So hormonal disruptors.
Okay.
So chemicals can fully just stuff up our hormones, and we are exposed to them through, it can be cleaning products, it can be,
stress.
like you said, perfumes, and stress is probably the number one
for everything.
For everything,
it fucks everything. Yeah. You can do everything right and do all your yoga and do all your meditation. If you're stressed by a particular thing that you're not addressing, you'll never be at your peak.
Yeah, and our hormones are very sensitive, right? So on an emotional level, if we're not, calm, centered, and in our, you could say, feminine flow, then of course we're going to be having some of these mood disruptions.
Okay.
One thing that is just, I find that brings premenstrual symptoms up is literally just us living out of alignment with our natural rhythm. Mm-hmm. It can be that simple.
Hence why you do what you do, right? To try and get us back into that.
Exactly. Okay. Teaching us the different phases and the different energy that we actually move throughout our cycle, and actually respecting that rather than moving against it. Because if you think about like something going against the grain, right? What does that cause?
Friction.
Exactly. And our body is always giving us signs and symptoms and saying, hello.
I don't feel right.
Exactly. You're not.
And you don't know why, but you don't feel right.
This is the thing. When we become more in tune, we can ask ourselves, and our body can actually give us the answers.
Okay.
But we're so out of tune and out of touch that we, go to the doctors and ask for help. And
they don't know. I mean, GPs, they're more referring you to.
Yes.
They don't know every single
thing. They don't know everything.
Yeah. And they can't. I get it.
Yeah. But their solution is the pill or some hormonal contraceptive, because it's like a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah, Band-Aid for them. And
I had just come off the pill when I came to see you. That's what it was. And that's why another reason why my hormones – so I haven't been on the pill for years. And when I went off it, I went, oh, I'm not a psycho. I cried all the time. I'll cry like a couple of times a year now. I was crying all the time. Yeah. So, and I'm seeing so many people come off the pill.
Yeah.
Just like there was a big movement where I was seeing explants where people were removing breast. So we're starting to learn more about ourselves. No judgment for anyone who wants to be on the pill, but that was not the right move for me. I'm just too hormonal and it just wasn't good.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
I feel like you're playing God also with something. Like I know a lot of people, I've got a friend who's on whatever it is that stops you bleeding altogether, and I was like, oh, is that a good? Like, isn't your body meant to shed? That concern, I don't know enough about it. That's a personal opinion, but that's not something I would do because I feel like I'm stopping my body doing something that's like evolutionary, natural to it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's again like this psychology that we have been given and society for us to be like ignoring this natural.
Ignoring it.
Ignoring this natural cycle. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to essentially be a woman.
It's denying what's coming naturally to you.
Yeah, exactly. So this lastly on this autumn phase, I call this the feeling phase. And how many of us have been taught not to feel? You know, don't cry. It's okay. Like, push everything aside. And if you think that ignoring your feelings is going to help you, then again, it's like pushing things down.
Because feeling things is uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And I get it. I
100%.
do it, but I've got to be in the right headspace to do it because it can be, I need some energy behind this because I'm about to feel some shit. Do you know what I mean? Like I had a chat with a friend the other week and she was in some stuff and I'm like, I said, well, I'm not going to say I'm sorry, but I feel like you need to feel these things. It's just like, yeah. So I said, I could feel, she was talking to her partner and he didn't get it. I said, well, men never get it. So I wouldn't hold that against him. But I go, I hear you, but I go, why don't you hang up and go, because I could feel the tears coming out. I go, why don't you go and sit in your feels? Like, I just felt like that's what she needed to do. And I can tell that that's something that she just needed to do it. People don't like being uncomfortable. This is the whole thing with why I was saying the older generations never went to therapy. Yeah. It's hard and people will, get to therapy and not want to talk about things that it can take them a few sessions to pull things out. It's really, really a vital part of facing something. So, like, I have personal beliefs that when you're swallowing words and feelings, it manifests itself in the body with physical ailments. I was in an abusive relationship for 5 years. Every year I got something else. I have 4 fibroadenoma tumours in my breast. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 each year. Then I got psoriasis. Then I had severe reflux. Then it was diarrhea. My body was screaming, bitch, you are uncomfortable. You are swallowing your feelings because I didn't want to disrupt it and make him more crazy. You know what I mean? And the second I'm in a place where my voice is heard, the physical ailments went away. But I'm talking to girls and it's really funny and we're all having these similar things of gut health issues and tight neck. And I'm like, oh, we need to talk our feelings out because that is definitely manifesting in the body. But yeah, it's the uncomfortable and people don't want to do that. But it's really vital.
It's essential. It really is. And if you think about, our cycle and each time we go through that luteal phase, it's actually an opportunity for us to feel because I also say that estrogen is like rose-colored glasses. Yeah. Everything's shiny and everything. Yeah. When we come to the progesterone phase, the rose-colored glasses come off and things become more real. Things start to lift up to the surface for us to actually look at and feel. Yeah. When do we give ourselves the time to feel?
Well, we don't. We have vices. Yeah. And it's like I listen to financial podcasts and they're talking about when people will make more money, they just spend more money. And they're like, but you've got to look at why you're spending and it's to get an emotional high. Now, when I see really, really unhealthily overweight people, it's not about a body image, it's about they're unhealthy. And then I hate when thin people will be like, oh, they just need to go on a diet. Oh, they just need to go to the gym. And I'm always like, no. Like I get it more from the overweight side of things. I'm like, because it's not about the food and it's not about the lack of exercise. It's about they're hiding a feeling. So for instance, I read once that it's really, really typical for people who've been sexually abused to put on weight after that because it's like a defense mechanism. It's like a bit of armor. It's protection. Yeah. So everyone has a vice. So, that person drinking alcohol is judging the person for overeating. That person overeating is judging someone for overspending. I have a lot of vices, but it's like, but I'm aware of it and I'm working through blockages because I know that if I'm overspending, I'm not facing something and I'm needing that high, do you know? Yeah. Or like I don't really drink anymore, but, if I was partying, it's because I was trying to, or if I was in a new circle of people and I was uncomfortable, I was drinking and that didn't make me feel better. So I think it's about burying something or using something as a Band-Aid instead of facing that feeling. So I feel like that's not just hormonal or feminine. I think that's everyone.
In general. Yeah. But for women, it comes up more during this phase.
The luteal.
Okay. The luteal phase. So it's a time where you can actually, express to maybe your partner, your friends, your family, whoever you're around, I'm moving through this phase of my cycle. I might need a little bit more space. This is a time to really express your needs.
Yeah.
But first you actually need to know your needs first.
Yes. And I talk about this with boundaries. Like there's no one's going to respect them if you don't know what they are.
This is a boundary setting time. This is like I need these things in place in order for me to have the space that I need to feel, to express what I need to express, and just to add in more self-care. This is such an important time for self-care.
So it sounds like you need to be in tune with yourself to know what and when you need it. Yep. Then you need to be vocal about telling the people in your life about it. Yeah, otherwise boundaries won't get respected.
Exactly. And then you're just going to hold resentment or you might have an unhealthy outburst.
Yeah, and it's not their fault.
And it's
because you didn't verbalize the boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so it does come down to self-responsibility.
Yeah.
But it can take time because we move through our cycle, it's monthly. So we have like a limited time to actually be like, okay, what's here? How do I respond to this phase? I call cyclical living a personal development tool.
Okay.
It is so incredible because we can start to ask ourselves like these questions about...
maybe that's why women are more in touch with themselves and their feelings than men. As a general, not all men, but maybe this forces us to.
Yeah, we do have more progesterone than men. So
I don't want to get too much into hormones, but men have estrogen and do we all have the same?
We
or
all
we just
have
different
same,
levels?
Different levels. Yes.
Okay, so we've got testosterone because I know that if I've ever had like weight gain out of nowhere, it's when my testosterone's low. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Okay, what are some questions we can ask ourselves every day to ensure we're living cyclically? Because people might listen to this and take it on board, then switch off and tomorrow go, oh, how do I know? Yes. So what questions are we asking ourselves?
Yeah, so you can really start with what day of my cycle am I on? Plain and simple.
Yep.
Start tracking your cycle.
Do you recommend any apps or anything? Or
yeah, there's so many out there. So there's ones that you can pay for.
I think I was on Life, but just the free app, so I can see where I was at.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So there's like FEMM. That's what I use with my fertility awareness clients.
Okay.
And then there's ones like Flow. There's Read Your Body. There's ones that actually Stardust is actually a cool one because it links. A cool name. Yeah, it links it up with the moon phases as well. I know.
I'm getting that.
It's really really
cool. I love that.
Yeah. So I also like a question is like what phase of the moon.
Yeah, I love that.
Is in.
Well, then you don't have to have two separate apps. Then it can just be on the one. Oh,
exactly.
I like that. Yeah, my Cancerian friend will love that too. We're always texting each other. It's full moon. Have you seen it? It's new moon. Have you made your goals?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So what day of my cycle am I at? What moon phase is it right now currently? How am I feeling? That's an important one because when we start to know day in, day out, what feelings are starting to come up, what changes am I feeling within my body, and then we can start to see a pattern that's starting to form.
And this is what I was talking about when you're in a rush and you're not stopping and having silence. you're not going to have time to ask. So maybe like first thing in the morning, depending on what your schedule is, that's when I like to write my affirmations and do my meditation. That's probably a good time to check in with yourself, right?
Yeah. First thing at morning or last thing at night.
Yeah.
Or both if you've got the time.
It's space. Nice at night too. It's sort of I'm in a reflective
stage.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a morning person. I get very tired at night.
Yeah.
I feel very alive and excited in the morning.
Yeah.
I've really become that person. But I am in my feels and I do get reflective at night, and that's when I play my Tori Amos and get very
get in the
right in my feels. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So either or. Then you can also look at, what is the season doing outside, and how is that affecting me?
So it really
my energy levels.
So it is all the same thing. When I was talking in that episode about cyclical living with the seasons, it's all sort of connected. It's not
like I said, we're cycles within cycles within cycles.
Yeah.
So
the period, the moon, and the seasons. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. And the thing is, this is just like cyclical living is like a loose idea, right? And every person is going to be unique because now it's winter here and everything is feeling like a little bit more in hibernation mode, but we're still cycling, right? Within
no wonder people get depressed with the 9 to 5 schedule. 100%. None of that is taking any of this into consideration. Any of those 3 cycles are not. It's like every day you're expected to show up with the same thing, and then you get like guilt or shame if you don't have those energy levels. So, I just don't apologise when my energy's low anymore. I'm like, this is where I'm at today. Because when my energy is at peak, I do so much. So I think
exactly.
I am, and I almost feel like it evens out. Like these are my productive days. So I've allowed for less productive days by going so hard in those productive days.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with men, like we said before, they're on this 24-hour cycle.
Yeah.
They can just keep on going and going and going. They can have the same sandwich every single day for 20 years.
My husband does the same thing.
They're fine.
Yeah.
Right? But we have to really acknowledge that we are not small men.
Yes. Yeah.
We're not small men. And acknowledging that and accepting that, then we can start to change and shape the way we live our own lives, and then hopefully that ripples out into society as well.
Yes.
But it first starts with us.
Yes.
And really acknowledging that, hey, I can't do...
And unapologetically,
I can't do what a man does.
No.
Like, full stop.
Yeah, I think that you were right. You were spot on when you were talking about the feminist movement. We were trying to be a man in a man's world when we really just need to create a woman's world. Like, I'm not saying like overtake. I have more male friends than female friends, but what I'm saying is not compete. It's like it's a separate lane.
Can we live in harmony?
Yes, it's a separate lane.
Synergistically.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's not like you're better than me, I'm better than you.
I'm going to be doing another episode about that. This is what's killing me. There's an us versus them in society, and we're actually shooting ourselves in the foot because I'm a feminist who is a staunch feminist for all of our rights. But you will never catch me talking down to a man, and we're losing them. We're losing them because we're not talking on their level. Like, I have so many male friends, so they actually listen to me. They really listen and absorb what I'm talking about, and they start to get it. But it's like who's going to listen when someone's yelling at you, telling you that they're better than you? Like, anyway, I'll do a whole episode about it. We're going to lose the fight if we don't change the tone and address things in a certain way. This is what we have to do. Yeah.
100%.
Okay. So they're good for the questions we asked. What are some changes we can make today to align with cyclical living? So they're the questions we ask. And what did you change for you to live more aligned cyclically?
So I started pretty small, right? The first thing that I did, the first step was really getting in tune with my cycle. So those questions are going to be probably like a good foundational start.
Yeah.
And actually being like, okay, like what's my body telling me? What signs and symptoms am I getting? Like looking at my relationship with my bleed. How do I feel about bleeding? And what is actually like the quality of my bleed as well? Like how healthy am I? Because our bleed is actually a really good reflection of, the last cycle that has been and how healthy this last hormonal cycle has been. So we can tell a lot by actually looking at our bodies, signs and symptoms, and the results of like our bleed. So just really getting so inquisitive about ourselves and our own unique cycle.
Who would you recommend we go to if something feels off with our cycle? That's tough. This is where women get lost and don't address things because they're like, well, who can help me? My male doctor has no fucking idea.
So I would honestly go see an alternative therapist. So
for me, that's always worked better.
Yeah, naturopath. Because we're actually going to get to a root cause.
Yeah, not a Band-Aid.
Rather than
not
Band-Aid.
here's a script.
Yeah. Exactly. Because there's so many things that we can do on a natural path.
Can they do like hormone testing? And
hormone
testing?
Yep. Naturopaths and you could say like alternative doctors as well.
Yeah.
Holistic doctors. They can do as many bloods as you need to find out, what your hormone levels are at. Prescribing like really basic nutritionals and herbal medicine can do a whole world of good for balancing hormones and getting your cycle back on
I was
track.
just telling you when you came in, ginseng changed my life. I can't take any of this stuff pregnant, so I've really missed it. But incorporating ashwagandha and ginseng, I can't have any caffeine. Absolutely, my pulse juds out of my neck. It's awful. Even a sip of my husband's coffee makes my hands sweat and shake. But when I started having ginseng and ashwagandha, I felt calm and just natural, slow releasing energy. It just completely changed my life. But that was for me. Like I encourage everyone to find out their own issues. I'm also encouraging people to always, get those checkups and get the blood test to see what you're lacking. Like my friend's going through some issues because she was so gravely lacking in B12s or Bs, but she just has no veggies. So I go, can you at least get, I know she won't eat them. So I go, can you at least get supplements for what you're lacking to give your body what it needs?
Yeah, exactly. So I find lots of women that come to me under eating and undernourished.
Right.
And we need to really feed the body. Women's bodies thrive on being fed and well fed.
Yeah. Or we're eating the wrong things. That Kitty Bloomfield, she's in her 40s, I think, and she's like does a lot of weights training and she's so fit and healthy, but she's talking about like a lot of the female diet is like really low in protein and higher in fats.
Yeah.
So when I look at my diet, I used to be like that. So I would actually agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I had a girlfriend come to me and she's like speaking about period pain, and I'm like, what are you eating for breakfast? And it was more like carbohydrate based, or she was not eating until 11 or 12, and I'm like,
that's what I used to do. And I had a nutritionist friend tell me, because I used to wake up and just have a sip of juice and then go doing high intensity workouts. And that's when I was getting adrenal fatigue. She's like, hey, just, she goes, I don't want to tell you what to do, but just so you know, her name's Brooke. I'll let her know to listen to this. She said, why don't you try? Because I think she was explaining that your body's thing will go into fight or flight thinking, I haven't eaten, so I better store what I've got. And then my cortisol was rising. So then I would eat like a full breakfast, then go do a workout, and I lost weight eating more.
Yes, and first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and it's hard. I'm not hungry.
Yes.
Like I sort of have my juice and I'll walk around and do a few things and then eat before. It's hard.
Yeah, so I just suggested to my friend, I'm like, look, babe, you just need to add in some like protein to your diet. And breakfast especially.
No one ever used to put protein in their breakfast. Remember growing up, we always had cereal. I didn't eat cereal for a good 20 years, and my first trimester, oh my God, do you crave the foods you had when you were 12? So here I am eating freaking Cheerios and stuff, and I'm like, I am hungry 10 minutes later. How did I used to have that as a breakfast?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
insane.
I know, I know. So, and she just messaged me last week. She's like, babe, no period pain. My moods were fine. My moods were stable. I'm like,
wow.
Protein. Yeah, it's incredible. So we want to find a really good, wholesome, balanced meal, like having your macronutrients, protein, fat, carbohydrate in like the right portions.
Everything's education, isn't it? You've got to look into what you need. It's hard if you don't know. and you don't ask
100%. Yeah. But if there's like one recommendation for hormonal balance, it would be start your day with an incredibly nutrient dense breakfast.
Okay.
That's step one that I would tell everyone to do.
Are there like rituals and things you do for the different phases? Yeah,
I do. I go through this in my cyclical living course.
Okay, yeah.
But something that I really, really love to do. Okay, let's start with my winter phase.
Yeah.
Journaling.
Yes.
It's something so basic, but, you know, I've got questions I like to ask myself.
Okay.
And it's like more reflective and also get bored.
Yes,
Get bored because this is a phase where we have the
overstimulated.
space and this is a really good phase where like intuitive hits start to come up. And when, like you said, when we are in the shower, right, we get like these light bulb ideas.
Yes.
So when we stop in our winter phase, this is where, you know, we can get guided quite well throughout life when these ideas and like paths start to open up for us in this phase. So
journaling's big, and everyone's always like, oh, either they don't know how to do it and what to write, or everyone's like, I don't have time for that. Bullshit.
Everyone has time.
Everyone has. You are online. Right? Show me your phone, and I want to see how long you're online for. And if you tell me you don't have 10 minutes out of that, it's make the time. Yeah. It's not. Time is never handed to you on a silver platter. You're in charge of your diary and your schedule. Yep.
And I also think it also comes down to what you were speaking about before, getting into the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when we're faced with ourselves and faced with like questions of inner reflection, it can be like challenging sometimes to actually be like, oh, you know, what is coming up in my life?
Feel
like,
good.
Oh, jeez.
But it'll feel better after the release.
Exactly.
Like a period.
Like a period. It's like
a good analogy.
Bursting the balloon, right? It's like letting things go.
Yeah.
So asking yourself like, what needs to die?
Yeah.
What really needs to die right now? And then what do I actually want to bring into my next phase of my cycle?
Do you know what I feel like every episode I'm talking about a completely different topic, and I feel like it all comes down to two common threads. Self-awareness, being in tune with yourself and getting to know yourself, and then boundaries as well. Like boundaries come up as well. So I just feel like we never allowed ourselves to do either, and I feel like this is a really great movement where every single topic I talk about always comes back to, if you know yourself, you'll have a voice. You'll, you know, and then if you're having a voice, you can instill boundaries to fill up your cup and give you what you need. So it's a common thread.
Yeah.
100%.
And then like coming into our spring phase, a ritual I like to do is just do something new. Do something new. Like try, you know, do a new activity, or
I love that.
Yeah, be creative in a new way, something new.
Yeah.
Summer phase, I like to just plan something that is outside in nature, or doing something social.
I love that.
Play.
I brought this up. Adults don't play.
Yes.
This is in a previous episode. Remember when you were a kid and someone would knock on your door? Oh, can Steph come out and play? Why are my friends not asking that anymore? Like, seriously, we should play
more.
Yeah.
Have fun again.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I'm excited about. I waited as long as I could to have a child, but I feel like that's going to bring because I'm in touch with my inner child, but I feel like that's going to bring it out more because it's an excuse to play, because you have to play with them.
100%.
So I'm excited for that, because
good.
I'm always like, I feel guilt if I sit down to watch a movie. I have this stupid feeling of guilt that I should be achieving, I should be doing something, instead of just giving in and just playing or resting. I think most women have that guilt. Yeah. Like, this is wasted time. It's not. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So play. And then in our autumn phase, it's like, what is the thing that will give you the most self-care?
Okay.
Like, really do that thing that is going to like fill your cup.
All right.
Or
so the
nourish
rituals
you.
are big in the luteal phase.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like really nourish you. And space. Like, if you can carve out space.
Is that your more solitary time?
Solitary time.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what we need in order for us to like, this is like an integration time. It's like digesting life here.
Yep.
And noticing the feelings. This is the feeling phase, noticing the feelings that are coming up. But we need that space in order for that digestion to actually happen. So carve out the space. And if you are like still the 9 to 5, working, erase your social calendar.
Yeah.
Right. And just
something's got to give.
Yes. Yeah. Something's got to give. And you just got to find those pockets of time just for yourself.
I do that now. I don't do back-to-backs. If someone invites me out on a Saturday, no one's seeing me on a Sunday. I can't. I burn out and then I get resentful towards them when it was really never their fault. They never knew my diary. It was up to me.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm big on that. See, boundaries again.
Boundaries again.
Always comes down to that. Okay. Awesome tips. I'm really going to take them on board. Tell me about the courses you offer and where people can find you if they want to know more. I'll definitely put all the links in the show notes, but tell us a little bit about your courses.
Yeah, so I have my business called Temple of Woman.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
I know.
It's a great name.
Yeah, so I have just done or created my first cyclical living online course.
Oh, great.
Yes.
So you don't have to have your airfare to Bali for that.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you're more than welcome to come over as well. So that's all there. I go through the different phases.
That's a great place to start.
Yes, I marry the science of your cycle with the more feminine aspect to cyclical living.
Yeah.
And go through how to work with your cycle, how to eat with your cycle, how to exercise with your cycle, and all of the details there.
Yeah.
And also have an added bonus of how to live in sync with the moon phases as well.
Great. I love that. Exercising is definitely something I had to restructure. So that's really interesting. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And tell me about your wellness retreats and things you do in Bali, because that's definitely something I want to do one day.
Yeah. So it's actually through Yoga Barn.
Okay.
And it's literally just coming there and creating a retreat just for you. So we're eating really clean, we're moving the body through yoga practices, lots of meditation, sound healing.
So I would rather that for a holiday.
I know.
Than just going and drinking in a pool. Like that to me excites me. Me and my best friend have been saying for years, we've been trying to plan. There was a close one, Happy Buddha retreat. We just can never line up our schedules to get that thing done. And now she's got a baby, I'm pregnant, and we will get that done.
You will get there.
Yeah, because I'm really big on giving back to yourself. So and Bali's it's not that far away, honestly.
No, it's a very quick trip. Yeah, I do those with Yoga Barn, which is really, really beautiful. And I'm hopefully doing women's retreats as well later on during the year, or 2025 as well. So
they're very big. Online courses and retreats seems to be where it's at for everyone. I love that. Yeah. Thank you so much. We had this chat lined up a few weeks ago, but I cannot, as I said, I'm a technophobe and I couldn't get the online interview to work out and get the sound right. So I was so lucky that you popped into Sydney just before I give birth. So this will be my last interview, as I said, pregnant, and then I'll take a little break. So I'm so grateful. The information you gave today is so useful to myself and to the listeners. So everyone just check the show notes to find out more. Thank you so much, my friend.
Pleasure.
There is no resource more valuable than time, and I thank you for spending your time with us today. Your voice is so important to us, and we would love to hear which topics you would like discussed in future episodes. Please reach out via Instagram at Can I Get a Refill podcast, or in our private Facebook group to let us know. If you enjoyed this or previous episodes, we would be so grateful if you could please subscribe, rate, and review to help our voices continue to be heard. Catch you in the next episode.